By the end of this video, you're going to know the best Azami Kiba barrier spots on every single ranked map in Rainbow Six Siege. These Azami setups can single-handedly win you more games, so let's kick things off by starting with the brand new Consulate rework. Starting off on the first map then, we are going to be having a look at basement in Consulate. The first Kiba barrier we're going to place is going to be on the side of this box here. If you aim for that little white bit in the middle, it will land perfect. Now what this first one does is it gives you cover from that left-hand side of the reinforce, while also still giving you an angle onto the right hand side. If you use this pillar, you can actually get an angle onto the left hand side while being covered by the right hand side, so no matter which side they open up, or if they open up both, you'll still be protected from this and you can still get your peeks in either side. Moving on to the second Kiba barrier placement, we're actually going to chuck it on this box in between these two pillars here. As you guys can see, when you throw it there, it's going to give you cover from the breach once again if they do manage to open it up. Now the main reason for this Kiba barrier is to give you protection for this rotate here, which 90% of games you're going to want to have set up. As you can see, it still gives you a chance to swing and peek it. You can also hop up on top, get another angle, but you're going to really want to use this as cover. Moving on to our third and fourth place Kiba barriers then, we're actually going to create a one-way angle on this doorway. The first one you're going to want to throw is on the back side of this here. Then what you're going to want to do is hop up onto this little fridge thing. You're going to want to throw your second just under this white pipe on the doorway. As you can see, it creates a nice one-way angle for anyone who comes around this way. With your final Kiba barrier, it's really down to preference wherever you want to put it. It depends how your team are going to be holding this objective. If you want more protection from the hallway, you can always throw them on here. If you want more protection from this room, you can always throw one on this corner and that will give you an angle onto the doorway. Or you can even come in here and throw one on either this side here or this side here, giving you an angle where you can watch the attacker's feet. The one I would recommend out of all of those though is just to throw one here, just line it up, throw it there, and what this does is it creates an angle once again for you to hop up on to hold this doorway. You can also drop down and peek the breach. That's how I would set up my Azami barriers on this map. Let's move over to the next one. The next map we're going to be having a look at then is going to be Oregon, and the first two Kiba barrier placements are going to be creating another one-way angle on this doorway here. So for the first one, you're going to want to crouch. You're going to want to throw your first Kiba barrier really low on this chest of drawers, and what this is going to do is give you a little angle here. And then once your second one is recharged, you're going to want to throw it just on the bottom of the actual door frame here, and what this is going to do is give you a nice little one-way angle to anyone who's in the doorway there or peeking in through this way. As you can see, from an attacker, from a standing point of view, you're not going to be able to see the person behind there at all, and even from a crouching point of view, it's still going to be very difficult for you to hit their head. With that being said, then moving back to dorm main room, what you're going to want to do is give yourself a little bit more protection from this window, otherwise you're going to be a sitting duck. Now what you can do is throw one either here, or you can chuck it a little bit further back and chuck it in between these two sticks here for the football table. As you can see, this is going to block off that window, but you can still lay down and use a little angle here. With the last two, what we're going to do is we're going to block off the window here and give ourselves a little bit more protection. What we're going to do is just throw it right in the tippy corner there of this chest of drawers once again. And as you guys can see, this is going to give you a little bit more protection when peeking here. It's also going to give you a little bit more cover when actually running behind here to actually peek the window. For your final one, it's really up to you where you want to place it. You can also reinforce this wall by throwing another one on the back side of this, so if anyone opens up the wall that you reinforce here, you're going to have a little bit more cover there. Or what you can do is even come into this room and give yourselves a little bit more protection from that way. Say if they open up this double wall, what you can do is throw one on there, and that's going to give you a little bit more protection here, and they're going to have to fully peek their entire body for them to be able to shoot you. With that being said, that is how I would set up Dawn's room on Oregon. Let's move over to the third map. Moving on over to the third most played ranked map right now then, and it is going to be Clubhouse. We're going to be starting on the CCTV and cash objective. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is come over here to the catwalk and give your catwalk players a little bit more cover. You can do this by throwing them on these little banisters. As you can see, it's going to block up these little holes, and it's going to make it a lot easier for your defenders to hold this area of the map. Now I would highly recommend you pair this with a Jaeger and stick one on either side, because otherwise it's going to make it a lot more enticing for an attacker to throw their grenade up here so that they can not only destroy this but also hopefully get the person playing here. With our next two Kiba barriers then, we're once again going to create a one-way angle and give ourselves more protection on this rotate here. So the first thing you're going to want to do is crouch and destroy these 2 chairs. You can do that just by punching the base of the chair. And then you're going to want to line it up round about here and throw your Azami barrier on the side. Now what this does is it immediately blocks off that rotate if anyone decides to use that. No attackers here can get any intel. But you can take this one step further by throwing another Kiba barrier up on this door frame. And what this does is it creates a nice one-way angle that you can hold. And literally no one is going to see you until they have to crouch and walk through here. Or if they walk all the way up here to try and punch it or use gadget utility to open it. With your final Azami barrier, it's once again all down to preference. There's usually only 4 good spots for each objective, so for this last one you really have a lot of room to experiment with. What I found though helps me is if I throw one on the back side of this bit here. What this does is it gives you a little bit more cover to peek anyone who's opened up this wall. For example, anyone actually playing in CCTV, say if they've opened up a rotate here in the hard wall, you're going to be able to peek it, or if they've opened it up in the middle or on the right hand side, you're really going to be able to use that as cover when peeking, and you can hide here. With that being said then, that is how I would set up CCTV and cache on Clubhouse. Let's move over to the next map. Now the next most played map in Rainbow Six Siege ranked right now is Chalet, and this is actually arguably the best map to bring an Azami, especially on this basement objective. Now, you've probably seen this site set up a million times on TikTok and stuff like that, but the first Kiba barrier you're going to want to place is in line with this second wine bottle here. If you just throw it there, what this is going to do is give you protection from the doorway, but you can see this little gap here. You can also use it as a tight angle to watch and pre-fire anyone who's going to swing this doorway. The next one you're going to want to do is come over this side and throw it on the back end of this table. Once again, it's going to give you that little angle and more protection on that doorway. And as an attacker, it's going to make it a lot less appealing when trying to come through this area of the map. You're going to see these barriers, you're going to see people using them as cover and shooting back at you, and you're going to be like, yeah, maybe not, let's find a different entry point. For your third Kiba barrier placement, you can once again reinforce this even further by throwing a Kiba barrier around about here. And what this is going to do is give you even more protection when peeking this doorway, because if they don't get the wall open here, the main attacking focus then shifts to this doorway, at least from what I found. But with our final 2 Azami barriers, what you're going to want to do is obviously give yourself a little bit more time when it comes to this. Throwing one on the snowmobile is going to give you a little bit more cover when trying to hold off this area of the map. What this placement does is it allows anyone playing here and this rotate to be able to still swing and shoot anyone who's trying to go for the plant here, while also then being able to walk out and push anyone who's trying to plant behind this snowmobile. Once again, for your final Kiba barrier, it's really up to you. I've seen a one-way angle that's worked quite well over on TikTok. All you're going to want to do is throw it up here, and then what this does is it gives you an angle to, you know, shoot anyone's feet. You're probably going to want to place it a little bit lower, I'd say around this point. And what this is going to do is it allows you to actually play on these stairs and shoot anyone's feet who tries coming down the stairs. So that really covers majority of the entry points that a lot of the attackers like to take. The only real weak side now is going to be this set of staircase leading to Blue Hallway. With Chalet out of the way then, we are now moving on over to Coastline, which is the 5th most played ranked map right now. The first thing we're going to do is start here in Hookah, and we're going to cover up this main window, which a lot of the attackers' focus seems to shift towards. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to throw an Azami barrier here, and what this is going to do is it's going to block off a lot of the sightline that this can create, while still giving you angles to peek it if necessary. We're then going to secure Hookah one step further by throwing an Azami barrier around about here. You don't want to throw it too far across this way, because if you throw it there, it still gives you that chance to swing and peek, but it means you're not going to get shot, and you can actually sit behind it and use it as a little bit more cover before swinging and peeking. Now normally you're going to have a rotate coming into this room, and what this does is it leaves you a little bit more vulnerable to the back end here. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw our third Azami barrier on the back side of this pool table, giving you a little bit more cover once again from this side. If you want to, you could throw it a little bit more further to the left to give yourself proper security from this doorway. But as you can see, from an attacking point of view, there is basically no way you're going to be able to tell anyone's even playing there, and you're not going to be able to shoot through here because this middle wall will be reinforced, but you can still open up this side here and get an angle like that. With our final 2 Kiba barriers, we're going to kind of lock down the aqua side of the map. First thing we're going to do is throw an Azami barrier on the back of this. What this is going to do is give anyone behind these 2 couches a little bit more cover while swinging and holding this area. It's going to make it a lot easier for the defenders behind there to hold this area of the map. You can take this one step further by adding a rotate in here as well, so that they have a safe exit point if they do start to get pressured. Final Kiba barrier, as per usual, you can really experiment with this, put it where you want to. If you want to, you can chuck it up here, cutting off the sight line from this doorway. You can throw it there to cut off the sight line from that doorway, or what you can do as well is throw it along here so that no attackers can throw their frag grenades down here, making it safe for at least one frag grenade to play behind bar. But once again, it's all down to preference. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the Kiba barrier here. You're just going to want to line it up with that button there and just throw it, and as you can see, it's going to block off that little entry point, but you can still come in here and swing it, and it's going to make any attackers coming up from this side of the map not able to shoot at you until they fully swing this way, and even if they do, they're not going to get an angle on the doorway here. They're only going to be able to watch the guy playing behind the couches. That's how I would set up Coastline. Let's move over to our next map. Here we are then on our next map, and as you can see, it is going to be border. The first two Kiba barrier placements are going to help anyone who's trying to hold this area of the map and is playing behind this half wall here. For the first one, what you're going to want to do is throw it basically in line with the top of these handles just about here, and what this is going to do is it's going to block off the angle that the doorway has on this side of the barrier, so anyone playing behind this half wall will be able to run out safely without getting shot from the doorway. For the second one, what we're going to do is line it up with the edge of the handles here and just throw it on the edge of this barrier. What this is going to do is it's going to give you a little bit more protection when playing behind here. As you can see, you're completely covered from the door, but you can still quick peek here, and if they open up the reinforce, you can still peek that and use this as cover. Once again, you might want to pair this with a Jaeger so they don't throw any frag grenades behind here and get yourself killed, but this will make it a lot easier to defend this wall on border. For our final three Kiba barriers, we're actually going to come into the archives area of the map, and we're going to create a one-way angle on this doorway, which I never see in Rainbow Six Siege. What you're going to want to do is lay down and kind of line it up with this little handle here, but go slightly lower, and you're going to want to throw your Kiba barrier just there. As you can see, this creates like a half wall for you and your Kiba barrier, but you can still see over it. And then for the next one, what you're going to want to do is just throw it on the top of the doorway there, and as you can see, it creates like a nice little one-way angle that you can get on anyone who's coming through this way. With your final Kiba barrier, there is two options. You can either give yourself a little bit more protection from that way by throwing a Kiba barrier on this edge of the table, or what you can do is you can block off some of these little areas that they can throw frag grenades up and through. It's not in every game that I see people utilize these though, so what I would recommend is probably just stick it over here. And once again, you're going to do this by laying down, throwing it at about this height, and as you can see, it's going to just pop up enough to give you a little bit more protection behind there, but at the same time, it's gonna allow you to crouch and actually hide behind it. Obviously, if you destroy this TV as well, this rubble will eventually disappear, and you can use this to shoot through. Either way, that's how I would set up Azami on the map border. Let's move over to the next map. The next map we're going to be having a look at then is obviously going to be Kafe Dostoyevsky. This is another very good map for Azami, and the first thing we're going to do is kind of help the whole of our team by blocking off this little angle that the attackers can get from the skylight on your feet. What you're going to want to do is throw your Azami barriers on this little lip here, and what that's going to do is completely block off the angle that it can get on your feet, so anyone playing in this back bar store area will not have to worry about getting their feet shot when playing in this area of the map. What you're going to want to do is also come to this side and do the same thing, throw it around about here, and as you can see, once again, it's going to block off that angle that they can get from the skylight. Moving on over then to the piano room, this is where you as an Azami player are going to set up. You're going to try and prevent the people from making it to the objectives entirely. The first one you're going to want to place is going to be right here on the edge of this little table. Now what this Kiba barrier placement does is it kind of blocks off the angle that anyone on that doorway will be able to get. Even if they're upside down on the rappel, yes, they will still get an angle on some areas of the map, but majority of this map will be closed off, and it's going to be a lot safer for you. On top of this, when you throw it there, it's going to give you a little bit angle on the left side of this barrier, so if they manage to jump in, you're still going to be able to shoot back at them and use it as cover. And if they open up this wall here, they're once again going to be able to be greeted by your gunshots while also being able to be used as cover. With this Kiba barrier placement here, we are going to be vulnerable from these two windows, so what you're going to want to do is also throw another one around about here. Just line it up with that window back there, and once again, it's going to block off any angle that they can get from this window, and it's going to block off the angle there, while also leaving a little gap for you to be able to come around here and shoot back at them. With our final Azami barrier then, once again, up to you, but the one that I would highly recommend is to throw it on the back side of this chair. What this is going to do is it's going to create another little barrier there for anyone playing this side, and it's going to make it a lot easier for when you peek the window, and overall it's just going to allow anyone playing here a lot more cover when peeking windows and trying to challenge anyone who's in the hallway and stuff like that. Overall, this is how I would set up Azami on Kafe Dostoyevsky. Let me know if you agree or disagree with these placements. Let's move over to the final map of the video. Moving on over then to our final map of the video, it's going to take place on Villa, and this is a one-way angle heaven. Azami on this map can be extremely strong. We're first going to set up a one-way angle on this doorway, and the first thing you're going to want to do is line up to the middle of the doorway and throw your Azami barrier around about here on the table thing here. Then what you're going to want to do is hop up on this little wall table and throw your second Kiba barrier kind of in line with this shelf up here, and as you can see, it's going to create a nasty one-way angle. You're going to be able to shoot anyone's feet who's in this area of the map. I think the furthest back you can see is right here, and you can literally see all the way back to the wall. And as you can see from an attacking point of view, you're not going to be able to shoot anyone up there unless they're peeking on these little corners. And if you walk all the way up, even when crouched, you're not going to get an angle on the top, and the Azami can see your feet here. I've been having a lot of success with this angle. I highly recommend you try this, but I'd probably recommend you try it with a castle or something to try and give yourself a little bit more protection from this doorway. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come over to the games room, and the first one we're going to do is to kind of block off this angle that the attackers can get into Vault by throwing a Kiba barrier on the side of the pool table. It makes it so even if you're playing in Vault like this, peeking this doorway, or maybe even holding here, you're not going to be vulnerable from this doorway at all. And then the next thing we're going to do is once again create another one-way angle on this doorway that the attackers are not going to be expecting. What you're going to want to do is throw your first Kiba barrier on the bomb here, just below this little yellow bar. And as you can see, what it's going to do is it's going to create a lovely little head height peak for you. And then what you're going to want to do is throw your final Kiba barrier on the top of this doorway, and then what you can do is shoot anyone who tries peeking here. Once again, from an attacking point of view, you're not going to be expecting anyone here, and even if you do, it's going to be very hard to shoot back at them, and then you're not going to be able to shoot into there either. And with this Kiba barrier here, you're also still being able to play off of this as well and still be able to shoot all the way down there. But with that being said, that is the end of the best Azami placements for every single map in Rainbow Six Siege. If part 2 has already been released, it should be showing on screen now. If not, then click the video on screen and enjoy that one until it's out.